not a twin link in our formal terms and the way the Council have agreed a policy previously. And that's all part of the examination that needs to happen in the strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, do you?
With Brexit and for the legal implications, could we have this report brought back just so we can come through the process again?
My thoughts exactly. Yes, it will be brought back, and I think many reports will be coming back because of the Brexit implications. Anyway, when we will be clear on those, I'm not sure. I'm sure you will be able to tell me when we're clear on that. Let's hope, eh? Indeed. Would you like to comment that? No? No?
No, I'll keep my powder dry on that one.
Right, thank you very much. There's no sort of further questions. The recommendation was in the sort of pack, and I'm making no moves to amend that, so I agree that recommendation to move forward. Thank you. We're now on item 5, which is an update on the Portsmouth Lottery.
Thank you. Portsmouth Lottery has been running for about 2 years now, and since the beginning of last January, grants have been made. The panel consists of 7 members, 3 of whom are elected members. We have 2 members from the voluntary and community sector and 2 other people from Portsmouth on the panel. We meet 4 times a year to distribute grants to voluntary and community groups, and the maximum they can apply for now is £2,000, which seems to be a really good amount for small groups. It makes a difference for them. We try to keep the process as simple as possible, and I think it's particularly good the panel do understand the city and they know what they're doing with the grants and what's there. There was a panel meeting last week, so we've had a few more grants awarded, and we've now had 34 organisations supported, receiving over £52,000.
Thank you very much. Any questions about Portsmouth Lottery?
It's not so much a question, Chair, it's just a comment in more than anything. It's just basically saying that I'm just glad that we've kept the Portsmouth Lottery running. I had a good chat with Councillor Stubbs about this yesterday, and he was a massive advocate when it started, and we just want to obviously reaffirm our support for it. So any support with the administration going forward on the Portsmouth Lottery, I'm pretty sure can be welcomed.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually sit on the Portsmouth Lottery board, and it is a valuable resource now, and so it would continue as long as we can get the resources in.
Thank you, Chair. One of the things that we have noticed with the Portsmouth Lottery is that the numbers, as ever, are starting to drop in terms of the numbers of people that are applying. And one of the things that we would potentially like to come back to resources with a decision on down the line is looking at the options of handing over the administration of the lottery to the voluntary and community sector. Where we have recently supported Gosport with doing that, and they launched with it being run by the sector, what actually happens is they have the ability to not only encourage organisations, particularly small organisations, to apply and participate in the lottery, therefore raising income and opportunities, but it also gives an oversight of the amazing amount of groups that we have in the city working together for the people of the city of Portsmouth, which we don't always have visibility of. And so in Gosport, it's the Voluntary Sector Support Organisation looking at it. As the Hive evolves, it's something we would like resources to give consideration to down the line.
Yes, I saw that Portsmouth Lottery helping some organization, and the list of there. There is any chance or any way we can help some people, children in the school, because I heard about that some children came to school without breakfast, and there is no enough food or supply, and sometimes children are starving in the school. So there is any way we can add, because at least little bit you can start, and then I am trying to talk with other organization and school as well to do something, because in the morning I saw that some children that don't feel to take the breakfast just going out. When you go to the school 10, 11, 12 o'clock, they can't get nothing until that. And sometimes not enough food is there. So that's
I think that's obviously an excellent idea. The Portsmouth Lottery gives out grants to small organisations to do any particular project. So if there's any small organisation that's looking at breakfast clubs and things like that, then please get them to apply. I think as an administration and as a city council, we need to do more to alleviate poverty, including sort of breakfast clubs and making sure that children have enough to eat. So I think there's a two-pronged attack. I think it is just on the major issue that covers children and families, but also any organisation that's helping to apply to Portsmouth Lottery. Okay. And outside of these meetings, please come and talk to us, and I'm sure the voluntary sector will be looking at that as well. So,
thank you very much for your question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep.
Just a quick question for yourself, Lou. You say obviously handing it over to the voluntary sector. I'm sure that would have a saving implication when it comes to the budget.
Thank you for that. No, it wouldn't per se, because the panel that actually deals with it, obviously a panel of voluntary sector organisations, elected members and other external people from businesses. The administration that we actually apply to it at the moment, it would not generate a budget saving per se. There's some comms and marketing support around it, fairly limited. The organisation that we actually have provides a dashboard, and that ongoing charge will still have to be applied. So they, in effect, do most of the administration around it and provide a dashboard. And I think that's the issue. If we don't have capacity, and therefore there wouldn't be a saving from it, we don't have the capacity to keep pushing for sales of tickets. With the sector, they would have that capacity and that reach that we don't have, frankly. So actually, it's probably more of a cost saving as opposed to a budget saving, if that makes sense.
Any further comments? Okay, and that report is noted on Portsmouth Lottery. Thank you very much. We now go on to item 6, which is Portsmouth South East Hampshire Coroner's Update.
Thank you. The report is just to bring the committee up to date with what's happening with the coroner's service. As you'll be aware, it was brought into Portsmouth City Council in 2015, and it is still jointly run by the Hampshire County Council and Portsmouth City Council, although Portsmouth City Council are currently the lead in that service. Number of deaths reported to the coroner is still significant, approximately 3,000 annually, despite the smallness of the area. Following the transfer of the service to PCC management, significant improvements in overall timeliness has been achieved. The turnaround targets for non-inquest cases are now exceeded virtually 100% of the time, and the target for completion of inquest cases within a year is being met with improvements year on year. And this has been achieved against the background of 2,676 deaths being reported during 2017. You will see from the panel there that there is a reduction in deaths reported, and that mainly is due to the fact that there is now a panel at the hospital who looks at the deaths before the doctors actually report to the coroner, and that has made a significant reduction in calls that didn't need to be made. So that's obviously helping not only us, but of course the hospital as well. There's a significant decrease in DOLS cases, in other words, deprivation of liberty orders, because there has been a law change, so that those who are in nursing homes are no longer counted as being as needing to have an inquest should they die. So that's made a significant decrease in those cases. There will supposed to obviously sometimes be the odd one or two. Important factor in the improvement has been the positive impact on the coroner's staff with the support of Portsmouth City Council, a view that the coroner shares. Everybody's working together to improve the quality of customer service, which is the important thing. and the target is for the Portsmouth and South East area to be in the top quartile, and we're getting there year on year. There are inevitably delays in some cases because there might be a late submission of evidence by pathologists. Ongoing police investigations can have a major impact on the timeliness of the inquest. But this is not a unique problem to Portsmouth, it happens everywhere. The joint supervision continues to work well. With the improvements have been seen, such as the electronic transfer of documents between the coroner's service and the registration service, and this has benefited the public by making it much quicker. I was brought in to support the service as the coroner's line manager. Safizi is a judge, and there have been some improvements we've been able to bring there, because we've been able to bring additional support ranging from communication between the services, standardising the HR processes and embedding corporate processes. Because we had the problem when it was the 3 different areas. We had some stuff when we were on PCC terms, some in Hampshire, some police. So it was difficult. Now we are beginning to be able to bring all that together. As I can't be on site on a daily basis, we've introduced a team leader at the coroner's service, and he's responsible for the overseeing of the day-to-day supervision of the staff, allocating the caseload, holding regular team meetings and giving on-site support to the staff, while I remain responsible for budgets and overall strategy. Improvements with the new technology, etc. The toxicology contract was awarded to a new service provider in May 2017. Really working well. The coroner is very happy with the service that is getting from the new provider, and it's also brought in some cost savings as well already. We've successfully transferred all of the coroner's data from the old IRIS system, it's now, which was hosted by Hampshire County Council. It's now on our new WPC system. We were the first in the country to implement the system, and it's now the preferred option of most local authorities in the country, and it's brought a lot of benefits. There will be further developments with the Hospital for Electronic Death Referrals. This will make significant staff savings for both PCC and the NHS. We plan to have this in place by the end of the year. There has been a delay because there's been some technical issues with our computer systems talking to the hospital computer systems, but they are working on it, and we hope to start that pilot by the end of October. There's the ability to produce more detailed statistical reports. The Ministry of Justice report can now be dealt with very, very quickly. We've now got complete electronic files for non-inquest cases, which wasn't possible before WPC was implemented. And so that equates to almost 4,000 cases of electronic records that would previously had paper files. So obviously there's a reduction in paper printing costs, space for archiving, and also time saving in time, the time it takes to look at case data or being to hand. Autofill of forms and documents that are sent to stakeholders reduces time, decreases clerical errors, and we're able to track how many cases each officer has. And that's been extremely useful, as we do have member staff on long-term sick at the moment. Live casework data, electronic tasks, notifications, and the ability to log on remotely, the coroner has found extremely useful. So if he's been at home, hasn't been able to get into the office for any particular reason, he can still sign off of post-mortems, etc. The WPC system has also been adopted by other districts, including Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, our very closest neighbours. And this allows for possibility of cross-border working, which would be particularly useful in the case of a major event. And now that the system is in place, the staff are familiar with it. We are engaging with the hospital to make sure that we've got the online reporting as soon as possible. And once that is in place and working well, we will roll that out to GPs in the city as well. We're currently reviewing the service. We've started with Nikki Humphries, the licensing manager, started her fact-finding part of the review. So she's a fresh pair of eyes, has no preconceived ideas or thoughts about the service. And so what we're looking to make sure is that we have the right amount of staff, the right type of staff, and making sure we've got everything that they need for support. And so we will hopefully be able to report on that at some stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
It's just on the last point, Chair, the review of the service. It's a really good report, actually, on the coroner's service, and I think bringing it in-house was probably the most sensible thing that we've done in a long time in this portfolio. So actually, I pay tribute to Councillor Lee Mason for doing that. It's a bit of foresight. But the review of the service, I would like that to be brought back when that has been done, so we can actually have a good report on it, because I know trading under protective employment does bring up its own loopholes, and I'm sure you know in your previous life that we have to be very careful there. And if that report could come back, I'd welcome it.
I just like to recommend, because this service should be quick as possible to carry on, and also I'm not sure, and there is any facility in Muslim religious, once people are dead, we have to complete the funeral as soon as possible. So we try lots of time, last over the 20 years. Sometimes we can't do on our time, make problem, because we like to keep the death after Friday prayer. But sometimes we miss 5,000 people to attend because we have to go early because of some other issue. So we like to clarify those things and make sure that yes, we got this opportunity according to our belief to complete, and if there is any place or any finance, maybe Muslim community, they can organize the fund to pay for the labor cost, whatever the necessary, but still they like to do according to their faith. That's all. Thank you.
Just to give you some assurance, we are constantly looking at faith deaths and how we react to those, and bearing in mind we have to react quickly at times, and that is part of the review as well. I don't know whether you want to add further to that.
Thank you. Yes, we do have quite a robust out-of-hours service, and if there is no post-mortem required, then the registration service staff can react very, very quickly. Unfortunately, if the cause of death means that there has to be a post-mortem, there will be a delay, I'm afraid.
Yes, I just like to, if there is post-mortem, there is legal proceeding. There is nobody can put the hand on it. But if it's normal death, natural death, so if this community asking to me, if there is any chance, they can do the service Saturday and Sunday as well. They can cover the cost for necessary cost.
The out-of-hours service does operate Saturdays and Sundays. So. The registration service does operate on Saturdays and Sundays for emergencies such as the faith deaths, as well as deathbed weddings.
Thank you.
Okay. Just to respond to Councillor Plater-Harris's comment about review, obviously any changes to the service and it needs a decision will obviously come back to this meeting. Also, it's not our place to do anything undercover, in secret. We're an open administration, as you know, so we will do all that in open and to the public, so they know what their coroner service looks like and how we're going to move forward on it.
Just quick, if we are changing people's contracts of employment and this PCC staff, would that have to go through Employment Committee?
It depends if it's an outcome of the review, but the review decision is first. So if the decision to review is to change those terms and conditions, then no, it won't have to go through Employment Committee. It will be for the service to do and negotiate with the employees. Any other questions? No? Okay, that report is noted. Before we move on to the last item, which is the monitoring of the first quarter, I think it would be timely, bearing in mind that there is an agenda item on full council next week, and Lou is here, Lou Wilders is here, to have an update on universal credit because it's just come in. If people are happy with that, just to have a verbal update. Yeah. Yep. You okay with that?
Yes, we need to I can put the comment. Universal credit is newly introduced in our city. So some people they are not aware of, and maybe some people not understand very well. Even myself, we doesn't understand very well how it's calculated. So we need to, as much as possible, explore that matter to inform the public and media as far as possible. That's all.
I totally agree, Councillor Towdry. This is an opportunity because it is being live streamed to sort of get sort of message out there. It is a relatively new. People don't understand, and I think it's timely that this resources decision meeting is held today, that we can have a verbal update, and then and as we go along, a fuller update, especially at full council next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the update that I'm going to give about Universal Credit is going to give you a bit of information and advice about what we are doing as a City Council and with our partners to provide support, information and guidance to people. And a little bit of update since we've had the full rollout, because most of you will be aware that we've had sort of partial rollouts of Universal Credit over the last couple of years. The full rollout in Portsmouth since the 26th of September. Havant's going to be 28th of November, so we'll have another slight impact, certainly with our housing tenants around that point. I think what's really important to remember, though, is that the Universal Credit is a government national scheme. It's led by the DWP, Department for Work and Pensions, so it is not something that is led by the City Council, nor funded by the City Council. And I think that's important to remember that. So basically we've had full rollout from in Portsmouth since September this year. Basically Universal Credit is to replace what they call legacy benefits of child tax credit, working tax credit, housing benefit, income support, income-based job seekers allowance and income-related employment and support allowance. Now, obviously, from a City Council point of view, the only one of those benefits that we oversee is housing benefit historically on behalf of the DWP, and that's the one that we can talk to you most about. The scheme is an interesting scheme, and most of you would have heard through national press how over the last couple of years there have been various changes to the scheme, including ensuring that there is the availability now for people who are at risk of getting arrears to have a conversation with landlords and to indeed make payments direct to landlords, as opposed to the original plan, which was to pay people directly and then pass on the money to the landlords. But there is a difference between how it's being paid. Universal Credit is a single payment and it's paid monthly, and a lot of people historically are used to having their benefits paid on a more frequent basis. And the concept behind it really is to move it towards a more work-based benefit. So the idea is that most employees actually receive monthly salaries, and it's to get people to be used to that. In Portsmouth, what we have done in preparation for Universal Credit, we've worked with both the DWP and other partner agencies to understand how residents will be affected. We were one of the last areas to go for full rollouts. We had lots of experience of other local authorities that we could look at. Whilst we have to recognise that Portsmouth is different from most other cities, but we've certainly been working closely with people like Southampton to understand what it's been like for them. We've had full briefings for all of our frontline staff and volunteers, and those briefings have been given by the DWP and the Council's Tackling Poverty Coordinator. There's a one-day training course delivered by Child Poverty Action within Portsmouth, and that was delivered to 20 different agencies supporting people. And we have signposting resources around the city to enable people to go, for example, into libraries to directly be able to access support and advice, and most importantly, because people now have to make their claims out online, to get support and advice about how to set up online, how to do things online. Our website has also been updated to provide information about how to prepare for Universal Credit and provides extra resource. And we have also made changes to our ground floor reception to enable people to be more supported in terms of Universal Credit. In addition to that, resources in particular have funded additional posts from the U-Trust organisation that provides overarching support, not just money advice, but other types of advice, actually at the U-Trust Centre, and we have 2 staff working actually in the civic offices that we've been trialling since the beginning of the year, who provide support not only to our staff, but provide support to anybody coming in with debt advice and other types of advice. And in addition to that, we are funding a post at Portsmouth Disability Forum to support people with DAL. The change, you're quite right, Councillor, does cause confusion and frustration to people claiming benefits. And whilst national press has been full of universal credit for donkey's years now, people get a shock when it actually happens to them, and there is a level of confusion because it is quite different. As I say, we have built up relationships. It's a really good partnership relationship along the bridge route of working with Citizens Advice Portsmouth, the U-Trust, other agencies to provide what we call universal support offer. And predominantly that is around helping people to do things online, helping them to scan documents in and helping them to navigate the systems. The form to claim universal credit is actually relatively straightforward, but it's about understanding whether or not you should apply for universal credit. So we have ensured that we have specific support available to our residents when they contact our Revenues and Benefits Department in telephone and in person. I think it's important to note that the support that we are providing at the moment will change from April 2019 because the government's announced in the last couple of weeks that they want all support to be delivered by Citizens Advice rather than the local authorities and the more partnership route that we have been taking. So that will be interesting to see how that happens. But for now, the support, we are kind of managing people's changes from one benefit to another. Since the 26th of September rollout, we have received 2,783 notifications from Department for Work and Pensions in respect of universal credit changes and new claims. So it's really about when it affects somebody. It's not so much a new claimant, it's somebody who's been in receipt of a benefit before and has a change to their circumstances. Of those 2,783 notifications, it's affected 1,736 claimants to date, customers to date. What happens, and this is how it's kind of impacting our services at the moment, is what happens is when a change of circumstances happens, our officers in Housing Benefits and Revenues and Benefits Department will now look at that change of circumstances and provide advice to the person. So it's causing slight delays in how we are processing things and taking us a bit longer. It's not causing any major impact, and it's certainly not meaning anybody's missing out on money or getting money paid timely. But what we have noticed is it takes us a lot more time because we will look at each application as it comes through, and we will then advise the customer whether or not they should stay on housing benefit if they are able to stay on housing benefit, or they would be better off moving to universal credit because there's still that option in some cases at this time. So that obviously takes a bit of time for us to work through with customers, but I want to assure people that when they come to us, we don't just say, okay, yeah, it moves over to universal credit. We do actually look at the circumstances and advise the customer what we think is best for them. It then has to be up to the customer to decide, but we will, if it was a housing benefit claim with a change, continue to process the housing benefit claim so nobody misses out on any money or any opportunity. But it has to be up to the individual to decide which way they claim. We can't make that decision for them, but we will advise them, as will all of our partners across the voluntary and community sector that provide the support that's out there. So in effect, it is confusing, it is complicated. I think we are doing the absolute maximum that we can do. I think, quite controversially probably, because I'm being live streamed, I think the DWP could be doing an awful lot more. I think their handover and their ownership, and I don't blame that on local officers, I have to be very, very clear about that. I don't think it's at local level, but the ownership of universal credit and the handover could be smoother for customers. But I certainly believe, and we are obviously keeping a very close eye on the universal credit rollout in the city. And I certainly believe that at the moment our residents of Portsmouth are getting the best service they possibly can, and that nobody at this point is suffering any hardship or stress from it. It is very early days from the full rollout. The other thing that's important to remember is, by coming through to our revenues and benefits service, if we identify that somebody may have a short-term issue related to them moving on to this universal credit that is housing specific, we will consider our discretionary housing payments for them. So we look and see whether they can apply for and support them with that, as will our colleagues in housing, and as all of our main landlords and the voluntary community sector we work with are aware of. So we have the discretionary housing payments, and of course we would also assess to see whether people are entitled to the council tax support as part and parcel of them coming in, to see where we can give them extra support. So I believe that we are giving the best possible service that we can in Portsmouth. There's been a lot of learning nationally, but we have a really tight, strong partnership with our voluntary sector partners as well. So hopefully some reassurance about how it's happening in Portsmouth at the moment.
Thanks, Lou. Questions?
Can I ask you, that there is, you said that there is still option is there for the peoples if they wish to join to the universal credit, or they can stay with the housing.
No, that's not in all cases. In some cases, depending on the change of circumstances, if they are currently in receipt of housing benefit, they could, in some circumstances, still be able to stay on housing benefit for the current period of time before it moves to universal credit.
There is any time limit for them?
Yeah, but I can't tell you what it is.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Lou. That's sort of noted. I'm sure there's going to be more discussions as we sort of go forward on universal credit. Some good, some bad, I expect. But obviously, we will keep everybody informed of how that's progressing. And we've got the debate next week as well. So, okay, we'll move on to the last item: monitoring of first quarter 2018-19 revenue cash.
Thank you. Yes, this is based on the first quarter. This is your forecast for your revenue and capital budget this year. On the revenue side, you can see that we are forecasting a net underspend of just shy of 380,000. But remember, some of those items are what we call windfall, which is the housing rent rebates and allowances, which means that any change in that budget is held centrally. So the net underspend for your portfolio of 107 after the windfall is what would be added to your portfolio reserve at the end of the year if it continued. There are a number of detailed explanations of the underspends and throughout the portfolio. Quite a few are related to vacancies, etc. Overall, then, we have, it's the equivalent of less than 0.5% when you're talking about the 107. The portfolio reserve is currently standing at an uncommitted balance of 410,700. Then we move on to the capital programme. Again, that's been updated to reflect new schemes that have come in since the beginning, since the approval in February. Amendments, any rephasing of expenditure, and it takes out the completed schemes. And you have a summary of those, of all of that, in Appendix B. Shows you all the capital schemes in your capital programme. There's an explanation there of the variances in 6.4, the new schemes added, with some detail at the bottom. And you've got Appendix A, which is the more detailed summary of the revenue budget, and Appendix B, which is the capital budget. If you have any questions, thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Sorry, it's just a bit nitpicking really, Sue, so just bear with me. I think it's Appendix A, where we go to rent rebates, and it puts it as a high risk indicator. I know why that is, it's just unhelpful that I know it's a balancing item. Could we in future just put it as a balancing item?
Yes, I think the indicators relate to volatility. So what we're saying there is it's high because it's because it's a demand-led budget, it's quite difficult to forecast it. That's all it's really indicating. Yeah.
That's perfect. I mean, I get that. Or it's just unhelpful when you read it in the black and white terms of what it is. It would just be more helpful to. What I do want to pin back to is revenue expenditure, and it says obviously IT is overspent by 77,000. It says about software licences. And what are the service doing to mitigate this? They're looking to mitigate it, but what are we actually doing?
Well, what they will do is look across all of their budget, look at the other areas. They might be looking at income generation opportunities. They may be looking at holding vacancies. They may be looking at it for the short term. And then, obviously, they have a strategy moving forward, which is a different way of working, and that will come forward and be reflected in next year's budget.
I can also add to that there is Chris Ward is dealing with IT. It sits under him anyway, and he is getting a strategy together to mitigate that 77,000 anyway. Which you'll if you want to be party to that, you can be part of that.
If you could share that with me, that would be lovely. Thank you. Also, there was something else that I've got here. Let's see, this is the fun bits. Oh yes, that's it. No, it's insignificant. Don't worry. I know what the answer is.
Well, I'm glad you do. Councillor Chowdhury, any questions? Just one question from me. The vacancies that are listed under various services, are they genuine vacancies?
Yes, they are genuine vacancies. They could be two types. They could be the sort of the vacant period before, as a post is someone leaves and then a new post, someone comes. So it could be short term, in-year vacancy. But some of them will be where we're holding posts in preparation for knowing that we might have future budget reductions to find.
Okay, I think. There seems to be, my concern is that we're holding vacancies to mitigate some budget savings, which doesn't sit well with what we should be doing. But I think as we go forward, perhaps that might equal itself out, because I don't think it's as a big a problem as it used to be, because we used to do that quite a lot. But can I have some assurance that it's minimal, that amount of vacancies that are being held?
Well, as you can see from the amounts shown there, they're relatively small. If you look at those sums that are shown as underspends, that looks like less than 2 people in different places. So it's not a significant amount.
Okay, that's assurance enough for me. Thank you. Any further questions?
You're just going to pick up on the point you've just made, because I think it was a good one. You say it's less than 2 people. Can you give me an actual number on how many vacancies there are?
I haven't got that information with me, but I can get that information.
I just think it would be helpful for myself. It would be helpful for the cabinet member and my other opposition spokesperson, because you are right in what you're saying, that holding the vacancy open to make a saving later is just benign to me. It just doesn't seem like a normal thing to do. I'd rather you made the saving now and we didn't bother keeping the vacancies open.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll get that list of vacancies. I'm not sure it comes from you, Sue, doesn't it come from HR?
I will know what vacancies make up these underspends, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Any further questions? Okay, that report is noted. In closing the meeting, I would like to sort of thank all the officers that are here today, but also all the officers that have helped the administration from May, especially me as resources portfolio holder. Without your professionalism, I think it would have been a harder job, and I'd just like to thank every single one of you. It shows what great staff we do have within Portsmouth City Council, and I think you should applaud yourselves for that. Thank you. And I now close the meeting. Thank you very much.